So welcome to our 2022 series hosted by LeadHERship Global called Unboxing Growth. And I am Nicole DeMeo. I'm joined by my business partner, Jeanine Moss, and we're your leaders and facilitators for this discussion today. We're super happy that you made it. If you'd like to learn more about LeadHERship Global and the supportive, trusting community designed to help executives just like you grow and scale their businesses, just reach out. We will do our best to answer your questions about LeadHERship Global and point you in the direction of Linda and the team. Today, we are going to be talking about growth and specifically thought leadership and content marketing. And to do that, you need to have a firm grasp on what you're offering, including your unique features, benefits, points of differentiation. And so we're going to talk about that today during the course of this workshop. Just know that this is a series. Unboxing Growth is offered every third Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. And in this series, we are unboxing all kinds of marketing topics, and it's all about growth. So I think that's really what I wanted to share with you today, because the rest is in the presentation. I do want to just set the tone for this meeting and share the LeadHERship Global Credo, which is a really beautiful thing to level set. So during every discussion, we like to consider the positive things that impact our lives and accelerate our success and create a safe place for dialogue and collaboration by reminding ourselves by our guiding principles of LeadHERship Global. We encourage you to cultivate authentic relationships with women around you, so together we rise. We encourage you to act with courage and pursue your purpose. We encourage you to dedicate yourself fully to the path you choose and the outcomes you desire. We encourage you to be curious and open-minded and be a lifetime learner. And most importantly, we encourage you to celebrate each other to build meaningful relationships that accelerate success. So if you haven't already, we invite you to put your name, area of expertise, and LinkedIn in the chat so that you all can stay in touch with each other and we can stay in touch with you. So shall we get started?
Let's do.
Yeah,
go ahead. Talk about our motto.
Okay, well, you can do that. Our motto, Jeanine and I last year created a motto which was ask for everything, because I think in our lifetimes we don't always do that. We don't always ask for what is deservedly ours. And this year our motto is celebrate everything. And so here we're inviting you to both ask for everything and celebrate everything. And you'll see that unfold during the course of our conversation today. We come to you from our firm, which is Outfront Solutions. And Outfront Solutions is a marketing, branding, and business development firm focused on growth and building valuation. We really have a very strong, passionate connection to standing alongside other women as you grow and build your businesses. We will be speaking about thought leadership today and have very, very deep backgrounds in building thought leadership platforms for, I've been fortunate enough to work with Steve Jobs, Eric Schmidt, Ed Zander. We've worked with Carly Fiorina and all kinds of leaders in between, entrepreneurs like you. This last week, we were fortunate enough to launch the company Spike Games, and a leader by the name of Rina Onur Sotarglu, who broke records for the most amount of seed funding, a $55 million round seed funding in the games industry. So it's our great joy to stand alongside and support you as leaders in your thought leadership journey. And that's what we will be jumping more so into today. Jeanine?
Okay. Well, so what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about what it is, how to do it, why it's important. And we're going to have an exercise where we're going to kind of pull some thought leadership thoughts out of you, we hope. And then we're going to discuss those and talk about, how to use them, how to deploy them. So this is going to be a very practical, marketing-oriented, content marketing-oriented discussion. So, and we have growing leads and creating a marketing funnel because that's what we have to do today. So first of all, what is thought leadership? What is it? What isn't it? Right? So thought leadership, you don't have to tell everybody, like, know this, do this, think that. What you're really doing is opening up a discussion, because what you want to do with thought leadership is engage people in a dialogue and bring them closer to you, right? So, and the difference between thought leadership or other kinds of content where, white papers and things like that, is that with thought leadership, this is about the discussion, and it's about trying to stimulate an action, meaning that you want to be interacting with people to bring them closer into your orbit, right? So, and this is from Joel Kurtzman. One of the fun things about doing these kinds of things is we just call up these thought leaderships and people who are the founders of the movement and talk to them about it to inform us. And we'll talk about that as a tactic shortly. So from a tactical standpoint, Larry Light, who's a former CMO of McDonald's, really kind of put it very succinctly. We really like what he said. He said that you don't need a big execution of a big idea. One big idea that can be used in many, many ways. And I'm sure that you're sympathetic to that, because thought leadership takes a lot to develop. It takes a lot of effort to get your content together and to make your platform. So you want to be efficient with how you use it. You don't want to keep having to do this immense effort all the time, every time you have a thought leadership thing. You want to come up with a very big platform if you can, and then put it into your newsletter and put it into your social, and then do an email blast about it and post it on LinkedIn, right? So that's the meaning of this. So think about that as you go with your platform. So let us talk about why it's important. So 66% of marketers and leaders who were surveyed in the survey said that thought leadership is a top priority in marketing. And 54% of decision makers, and this is really kind of important, 54% of decision makers are actually spending an hour a week or more reading and reviewing thought leadership. So it really is an effective tactic. And 65% of buyers say that thought leadership significantly changed their perception of a company for the better. These are part of the reasons why we do it, is because it's a long form of communication, which is kind of rare in our world today. So, thought leadership, it's lots, sorry about that, folks. Let me see if I can, it's a lot of different things. It is your intellectual capital. It's the stuff that's unique. And I know many of you are in the coaching business, but every coach I've met has a different methodology, a different belief system that underlines what they underscores what they do. And you also all have different experiences in coaching, and you have different learnings that you can share with people from your experience. So this is what we call, your intellectual capital, and it's what informs your thought leadership. It's also content marketing, because as we observed before, right, it's about creating an action, and you're trying to pull people into your orbit. So it's content marketing. Managing your knowledge is critical. I mean, I'm sure all of us are always working with methodologies and processes, and how do you replicate your learnings and share your learning? So it's managing that too, and reusing it. And obviously, it's often a lot of just information. Nicole, do you want to talk a little bit about relationships and how thought leadership creates them?
Yeah. Thought leadership really is a conversation, and it begins with you, kind of putting out into the world and establishing your credibility. You really want to think about how you're connecting with your audience. You want to really hone in on what are the conversations and content that are meaningful to your audience. You want to really demonstrate that you see them and you understand the problems and how you might be providing business solutions, organizational solutions to their problems that and challenges that they're facing. You want to explain, your culture and capabilities and solutions. That's really showing that you understand what's going on in the world, in the marketplace, that you are demonstrating your capabilities and you're doing so in a way that is very solutions oriented. You, of course, want to be very respectful of your audience, respecting their, and understanding and already baseline of knowledge. And you want to be charming and entertain. That's always a good thing to do. Um, Guy Kawasaki wrote a book on how to be charming in your thought leadership. And some of those principles have stuck with me to this day. And for example, when we were traveling, one of the tactics he said is go out into the local environment and take a picture of yourself either with an icon or monument in the local area or with something that identifies you with local place, and that's a way to really connect and charm your audiences. So it's really important to think about being entertaining as well in your content.
Mhm. And if you think about it, you can't do that with an ad. You can't do that with a social post, right? There's very few communications vehicles where you can actually explain your differentiation and get people to know and like you. That's why we use it so much, and it's a cornerstone of marketing. So, Nicole, who cares about thought leadership?
Well, it really is an exceptionally important tactic, marketing tactic, and so it helps you to create a digital footprint, we like to say, or put you up there in the SEO rankings. If you Google even my name, you will see the articles and social platforms where we're communicating. So it's really important that you're putting content and thought leadership out there and creating this digital footprint to yourself. And that also helps build the case of your expertise. It's important for journalists, when working with the media, they can also see your level of expertise by seeing all that you've put out there in the world. It's great for investors. We're also investors in the venture capital world. And one of the first things we do is we like to see what kind of thought leadership is put out there by leaders such as yourselves. It's important for clients and quickly validating your area of expertise and establishing trust with them. It's important for consumer marketers, and B2B marketers as well, as you co-create and continue to communicate and get your word out across the funnel, the marketing funnel.
And so one of the things about SEO is really kind of ground zero in marketing, right? Because almost every purchase starts with a search online. So when you support that with your content, it's critical. And Google knows it, obviously, right? Another thing I just want to underscore is that 92% of journalists are on Twitter. So in terms of their search for news, they're looking, right? And LinkedIn is a place where business people are going, right? So it's a great publishing place for you, right? And it's got that publishing function, which you can then support. So your goal here with content marketing with all of these audiences is to get their attention. They're there, they're looking, they're open, right? And your thought leadership should attract them, because what we're talking about here is inbound marketing, right? And inbound marketing is attracting people to you rather than pushing your message out to them. We use a message to get their attention and then draw them to us, right? So this is just an absolutely critical part of that strategically. I don't know how many of you are using HubSpot, but HubSpot is really an inbound marketing platform that helps you get your messages out there, pull people in, account for them in regard to leads and understanding their behavior. So it's a really nice tool.
It's a deep CRM. Yeah. And there are lots of CRMs out there, but HubSpot's a great example of a very robust one that you can start in a small way and grow it as your businesses grow.
Yeah, and it's free at different levels, right? So it's a really nice tool to start with. The other thing is that a lot of us, and certainly from what I can tell everybody on this call, we're all involved in selling in some way, but it's a consultative sell. It's not, here's my product, buy it, it's got these features, right? It requires understanding the problems of your client, linking your solution to their problem, and that takes time, and it takes many different efforts, not just one, right? And we're not on the store shelf, right? So the consultative sell needs to be supported in the different stages. When you get somebody's attention, awareness, right? Then you get them interested. They've indicated an interest. We'll go into this in a little bit about the funnel, but essentially, it requires many touch points, as does pretty much all marketing today. So that's another reason to create one big piece of content and get it out over the many, many channels that exist. That's what we mean by channel fragmentation. Once upon a time, obviously, there were like 3 networks and some radio. It was a different story. But today, for you to communicate, if you were to communicate on a paid basis in these channels, you'd be spending a fortune. So content that is valuable and is perceived as valuable is something that it's almost akin to earned media. It is earned media sometimes, right? So again, differentiation, you don't always get a chance to say, well, look, they're like this, but we're like that, and go into depth on it. Thought leadership enables you to position yourself and deposition the competition by saying things, not like, he's terrible and I'm great, but here's what's differentiated about me. Here's how typically people do it. I don't do it that way. I do it this way. And that's something that you can only explain in a more lengthy communications vehicle. Nicole, anything else to add about that?
No.
Okay.
I think we got.
So here's the funnel, or a funnel, and you can customize funnels for yourself. But this is just kind of your basic funnel, right? At the very top of the funnel, you create content, right? There it is. It's your big idea. Second thing you do is you share it. Now, where do you share it, right? You share it on Facebook, you share it on LinkedIn, you share it through Twitter, you share it on your email, in your newsletter, on your website blog. These are all the different ways you share it and promote it, right? And you don't just do it once. You continue to support it in your social, for example, not just one post, but several posts, not bombarding, same with email. So that's a whole nother story about how you share, but there's many vehicles and there's an art to frequency, but always consider frequency, right? So now you've shared it and people have engaged with it. So now what you do is you offer them more if they opt into your email mailing list. And the reason why that's so important is that is the #1 sales channel for people in the services or who are selling consultative sell, because that's what creates the meeting that you're going to need in order to close that sale, right? So now they've opted in, you've said, hey, I'm going to give you another level of content or a free consultation or whatever your more is, but think about your more and how valuable it can be. And sometimes there's several mores, right? There's another piece of content, there's a meeting, there's an event, there can be a number of things, right? And then when they've said yes to that, now you want to find out whether they can be a customer for you, right? A client for you. So you have to validate them. And how do you do that? You do it, this is usually where the email comes in, right? Where you say, hey, something really important about what I do. I'm either about to do something special that is meaningful to you. I have something that I want to share with you about your business. Make it be about the client, right? And then say, would you like to have let's talk, basically, right? And that's what validates them as a potential lead, right? And then when you have this, you have a conversation with them and you find out whether they can be. And that's obviously like, send me a proposal. Yes, I'd like to, take it to the next level. And that's how you close them and make the sale. So that's kind of an explanation of a basic funnel, and you would map your content strategy. So now you have your big thought leadership piece. How can you cut it up to help bring people through this funnel is one of the tactics you want to do. Want to talk about all the ways people could do thought leadership, Nicole?
Sure. I mean, here are just some thoughts that can trigger ideas for you. You are a subject matter expertise, right? In something, or maybe a few things, but all you need to do, as we said before, is focus on one thing. Where dive into and tell your story and how you're a subject matter expert. You can offer ideas and insights into problems and opportunities that you see in the marketplace today. We see a need for people to get their word out via content marketing. So therefore, we're supporting communities by doing workshops like this. Consider all the missed opportunities and threats and risks that are out there, as you tell your story, and share best practices. It's always great in this world where people have so little time, if you can boil things down to some best practices, some things that you learned along the way to advance, your area of expertise. It's always good to challenge conventional wisdom. That's a absolutely acceptable thing to do, and is usually quite thought provoking and shows your point of view. Use data and emotion. Those are thoughtfully in the same sentence. To leverage data and cite statistics and reports and whatnot is really important. And emotion is a hook. We talked about being charismatic and entertaining. Bringing some level of emotion and passion to what you're doing is really engaging in how you tell your story. You can get ideas from customer service and sales. A lot of times your clients are really telling you and giving you ideas as to what it is that they want to hear in the world. And so having an understanding of pain points during the sales process, or what you're learning from a customer service or client relations point of view, can trigger some great ideas on how you tell your story. And then, of course, use things like holidays and news and anniversaries to celebrate and engage your audience.
Just to underscore what Nicole said, what's really good in thought leadership is to be controversial, right? And it always is good to point out a big danger or a threat or something that would happen if people didn't know what it was that you were going to share with them, right? It's also good to be disruptive. And it's, because remember that first slide, we said the thought leadership isn't what to think, but what to think about. So you can say, yes, this is something that I'm seeing in my coaching that everybody seems to be worried about this, but that's not what they should be worried about. They should be worried about something else, right? So, use real data, as Nicole was saying, from sales, your sales experience. I mean, you probably talk to clients every day and they tell you about their problems. You could even lead off with the top 10 problems that clients have and how I address them, right? So this is the kind of specificity, and thought leadership needs specificity. And what else Nicole talked about was the news and anniversaries. Those are just great hooks because people are thinking about something at that particular time, right? So always look at your calendar and see what events are coming up. We just launched this company that Nicole was talking about, and the conventional wisdom in launch is not on a Monday. And this last Monday was Martin Luther King's birthday, so double not on Monday. But we had heard that that somebody else was going to launch a similar thing that week. We decided that we were going to risk going out early. So we ran out early with our news, and we got incredible coverage because we didn't do what everybody was waiting for Tuesday, and we did Monday. So that's the kind of, we did an article on this topic. What did we do? How did we do? We generated anyway 84 stories in the first 24 hours of launching this company. And that's why I mentioned that became a story. We turned that into now a thought leadership how-to, and that's going out. So there's lots of things you can do with the experience that you have, and that's what you want to really rely on, right? So, and this is the best part. It doesn't, you get to bring other people into this. Nicole, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, sure. And please, by all means, jump in a lot. But it doesn't have to be all about you. You can invite a conversation. Again, it's really important to have that mindset that the thought leadership that you put out into the world is inviting discourse and a conversation. You can interview other subject matter experts in your field and area. And that's always providing really interesting content. And maybe you can sum up their best practices and pearls of wisdom in your area of expertise. It's great to acknowledge others, other point of view. We very, very often in all the thought leadership work that we do for ourselves, for our clients, we are citing other points of view to validate and confirm, right? And you can follow others and comment and join their conversation, right? On LinkedIn and other platforms. It's just a really great way to continue to establish yourself as a thought leader. You can, share your great content across these different platforms and the channel that we talked about. And it doesn't have to be your own. It can be content that is in the field or area of your expertise. If you follow Outfront Solutions on LinkedIn, you'll see that we're constantly sharing other thought leadership in and around marketing, and share pictures and videos. Engaging content like that is, people really need to have it mixed up. And so just sharing even a simple picture or video can set a tone and start to create a company and or personal brand.
And so just to bring that home a little bit, since it's the beginning of 2022, you probably saw all those trend stories. And there was like top 20 trends from the top 10 people in this business, like the top 20 marketing trends. I'm just going to use this as an illustration. How would we do that? We reach out to people in marketing, most likely clients or people who we'd like to have clients. And we go, what do you think the trend will be, right? And then we collect all of these trends. We turn them into a piece of thought leadership content. We add our perspective up top as well as throughout the article. And then you place that. Now, what's beautiful about that is that when you include other people in your content, they're going to share it, right? So all of a sudden, you're going to get a much bigger audience lift for your piece, right? Especially if it's somebody notable. You know, I was talking about how we called the thought leaders in order to do this presentation. Well, when we did, then they were really interested in what we were doing. And then when we posted, they could like or repost about it. And this was, we did this previously. But anyway, and when you get lift from somebody who's really important, obviously your audience really gets exposed to you and your thinking. So that's why these roundups are also really good things to do. And in regard to pictures and videos, for example, what we always include a lot of visuals. And why? Because everybody, you need them. Dense copy, who wants that, right? And who wants to read it? You need to help people enjoy your content. But it also gets you more space, gets you more mind share. And one of the things that we do is we'll do infographics a lot. Infographics are great. Fast information, lots of space on a page, and and it's unique. If you've created an infographic, which isn't easy to do, I'm just going to say it. If you do it, you're going to get more space. You're going to get attention for it, and it's yours. You own it. It's the intellectual capital that we were talking about before. So that's a great technique to use for that. So here we wanted, Nicole, we did a thought leadership project for a woman who just is a super duper technologist. She's a leader in innovation. And she said she wanted to go out with a major platform, but very strategically. And so, Nicole, we're going to tell you about this project that we did to illustrate what we're talking about.
Yeah, just briefly, because we have a couple of little stories that we'd like to tell, but we want to get to your story and you coming up with some thought leadership thoughts and some interaction here. But yeah, this particular executive, she had a platform where she really needed to pull together a lot of thought leadership that she already had, and it was kind of a little bit all over the place. And so what we did is we helped her to streamline her personal brand and really build that for her thought leadership platform. And so what we did is we helped her in defining all these different elements that we see here. It's super critical. Know your target market, know what value propositions you're bringing to these target audiences that you're dealing with. Clearly defining products and services, and what are the customer results, and what are the personal brand attributes. And so we took that whole body of information here to help her with setting a foundation for her thought leadership platform. And that was a place where she could then offer her subject matter expertise. And in her case, because she has been a technologist and a leadership coach, how is it that she went to market with that was really, really important to, lay this foundation. And that was the most important marketing tool that she could have used, is content marketing and thought leadership, because she needed to establish herself among the C-suite executives who are her target customers.
So this, a book is a really big idea that you can use in many, many, many different ways. Okay, but it is a pain in the butt to create. So we had a client who was destined for stardom. And this guy was a rising star, and he worked for a major management consulting firm. And everybody, lots of people have great ideas at management consulting firms, right? So he was among them, but he needed to distinguish himself, and he was elevating his brand. So and he had some speaking engagements, and he is a very smart person. So we said, okay, we want to position, what do we want to do? He wanted to do a CEO role. And so we said, okay, one of the best ways to do that is going to be, let's get a book. It's going to create an authority. You're going to be an authority here. And as for this multidimensional, multi-layered tactic, it's going to provide us a lot of speaking opportunities, conferences, etc. So, it was a super fast moving environment. This guy did not have time to sit down. I mean, he was going to bed at midnight and getting up at, 5 a.m. every day. He did not have time to write a book. So what we did is we got a great writer, and we scheduled a weekly call. And this weekly call was like 45 minutes. And what we would do is we would create a theme, because it was like a chapter by chapter. We mapped out what the chapters would be. And then every week for that theme, we would interview him for 45 minutes, and he speaks really fast, so it's worth like an hour and a half, that 45 minutes. So we would just get content from him. It would be a content dump. And then our job was to wrangle that content into a really interesting chapter. And he had the smarts, and he had the ideas, and he had the perspectives. But then what we would do is we'd take them, work with them, and then we would illustrate them with more research, sometimes facts and stuff. So I only bring this up in that it is doable. It is a lot of work, but guess what? This is years of a multidimensional, multi-layered, multifaceted product. And he's spoken about it. By the way, he's a CEO now, so it worked. You may have a book in you, and it may not be as hard as you think to get it out and to use it. And it's worth the investment when you market it in all the ways that we've been discussing. You'll get a ton of mileage out of it. It's important to know. It is really easier than ever before. You can get so many ideas. You can check your ideas online to see if anybody else has them. That's always our first step. Well, I have a great idea. Let's Google it. And you immediately know if your competitors are talking about it, if who else is talking about it, and how. And you can look at how they're talking about it and see if you have a differentiated position, which is great. There's a lot of the tools. Well, tools are, there's production tools. I don't want to go into those, but probably most important is all the channels of communications that you can look at to find out whether you've got something good. And you can always test it in little snippets on social or in blog posts and see what kind of interest you get. And the access to markets and access to capital, these things have never, this is unprecedented now, thanks to the reach of the internet and your ability to find things out about who would work with you. And he notes, and this is from Seth, and we did talk to him once, a while back, but the hard part really is quality content. And Nicole was talking about the emotional and the storytelling. So we're not going depth into that now. We will in a future webinar, and especially if you want to hear more about the art of marketing storytelling. Being high quality is critical. It sounds like you might want to say something, Nicole?
No, I just want to make sure, quality is it. Just want to make sure that we're allowing time for the exercise and whatnot, which I think we're almost there. Right?
Yeah, let's get there.
Okay.
Let's just knock out this slide, which
Sounds great.
It does deliver, right? Everybody knows Mary Kay. Everybody knows the pink Cadillac. She had a symbol. She had a point of view. She put it out consistently, right? And we know a lot about her and her expertise as a leader, right, of this organization. So this is there's a lot of ways, and talent, by the way, we're all in the talent war, or many of us, and talent respects thought leadership. They want to work for the best, right, because they now have a choice. So it really helps you with that too. I'm gonna just, I think we want to get to the exercise, which will be a lot of fun. And maybe we'll come back to structuring your thought leadership, but it is sort of standard, right? You know what you want to do, you know who you want to talk about, you know where your differentiation lies, you've done your research, keywords are important because you want to be surfaced. We talked about SEO, so you want people to find your stuff. So you want to see what the keywords are that people are choosing on. Google has free tools, and you can also analyze the competitors. And I think we've talked about all the other things. I just want to hit the one bullet, remarket. Nothing, just because something has been published does not mean that you're done. Now you have the opportunity to continue to promote that piece of work, right? through your newsletters, through people who have visited your website, letting them know that is there. So there's a long tail to the content, that your thought leadership content. And here we are at the exercise. So,
Great.
yep, you want to talk about that, Nick?
Sure. So we invite you to take a couple minutes here and think about this. We're just gonna, give you a few minutes to write down. And if you feel comfortable with it, by all means, you can share it in the chat as well. But just to think about what it is you do, what are the problems that you're solving in the world, what opportunities are we missing by not having your thought leadership? And what do you most want people to know about those opportunities?
You do want to think about what people don't know. And it's hard to know what people don't know when you're an expert. I know everybody here is a subject matter expert. So really think about how hard won your thought leadership is, how you've learned this over time, and see how you can shorten it. So let's